Hi, I'm Raina Morgan with iHealthTube, talking with Dr. Rappaport today. Dr. Rappaport, could you talk to us about ATP?
I started getting interested in the role of ATP, or intracellular, inside the cell, signals that affect cell proliferation and cancer. The common thought at that time was that extracellular signals had to be stable compounds, such as polypeptide hormones, such as insulin, for instance, or steroid hormones like cortisol. And intracellular signals, such as ATP, have to be labile or metabolically labile. In other words, they are not stable. They degrade and reform, degrade and reform.
Is an
Now,
ATP about energy, the energy
exactly,
molecules
exactly,
of energy?
exactly.
Okay.
Now, ATP is the energy currency of the cell. It's the major energy source of the cell.
Would you repeat that, because that seems vitally important?
Yeah, well, it is energy. Energy equates with ATP. Biological energy equates with ATP, and I will show later how ATP is produced inside the cells.
So it
But
was,
inside the cell, ATP is the major energy source.
that's what ATP is. It's the major energy source
Right.
in the
In
cell.
addition, ATP is capable of utilizing its energy to form chemical bonds, to activate a whole variety of chemical agents, so they are capable of carrying on further reactions, and to allosterically affect the interaction of other proteins. When you say allosterically, and we'll go through this theme, ATP interacts or binds to molecules, to other proteins, and thereby affects the activity of these other molecules.
And that's what we need to know, the general public. We need to know about how the energy works in our system, and this is what ATP is.
Right. Now,
Okay.
now the big advances in ATP came in about the 1980s. And at that time, people began to discover that ATP has a major activity outside the cell,
Oh, that's
extracellularly,
okay.
by interacting with specific receptors. And just to give you an idea, there are now 8 receptors that have been identified for the it's called a 2X receptor for ATP, and 7 2Y receptors. They differ in their mechanism. And so there are at least 15 receptors for ATP,
Really?
and now it gets a little bit more complex. ATP is comprised of 3 specific chemical moieties. One is the adenine base, the other one is the sugar, the ribose, and together the adenine base and the sugar are called adenosine, which is also a major player both intracellularly and extracellularly. Now, the third component are the 3 phosphates. The energy in ATP is in the chemical bond between the second and third phosphate, the beta to gamma bond. This, as I said, this energy can be converted to the formation of other chemical bonds, or converted to mechanical energy, such as in muscle action.
Okay, Dr. Rappaport. Well, we'll come back and we'll visit more about this complex but very exciting subject. Thank you very much. I'm Raina Morgan with iHealthTube.